Hey guys, Raven Ragebaiter here, and today we're taking a look at the Firebrand TF-Mk IV, a Rank 2 British torpedo bomber strike aircraft at BR 3.7. And when I ground out the British tree, I completely overlooked this thing. I just thought it was another 3.7 single-engine strike aircraft with 4 Hispanos like the Fireflies. Good firepower, but not much else to write about. But I've gotten a request for it, so I might as well try it out now. For this video, I'm going to be using the stock To Spaded video format, where I show you the games it took to spade this plane, and then have the full vehicle review at the end, so skip there if that's what you're interested in. Now, so far what I'm noticing about this plane is that while it's slow and doesn't climb all that well, which is sort of expected, it does turn quite well even at high speeds. Probably not well enough to win a dogfight against a dedicated dogfighter, but it's still good enough to fight most planes that aren't complete dogfighters, like the Yak-3s or Spitfires. Plus you can use that high-speed turn to force overshoots, and these flaps also seem pretty strong. They rip at around 400-ish for the combat and the takeoff, so you actually get to use them in dogfights. But the real main selling point so far that I've noticed is that this thing gets 800 rounds of Hispano Mk IVs, split across 4 guns. That's 200 rounds per gun, where I think most props maybe get like 600 max. I know the Mosquito gets 600, which is 3/4 the amount that this thing gets. So for this plane, I'm going to be a lot more comfortable pushing head-ons and spraying a lot, because I'm going to have the ammo capacity to be able to do that. This match I'm obviously completely stock, so these guns aren't actually going where I want them to, nor are they doing the amount of damage that I was hoping they'd do, but hopefully once they're spaded, they'll actually hit harder. Right now my focus is just trying to get as much damage in as possible. I don't really care too much if I die, since I'm still stock, and I just need the RP to spade the plane. This is a rank 2 plane, so it shouldn't take that long to get there. Though, I mean, I didn't get that many kills either, so I'm gonna try and prioritize getting the guns unlocked. That should hopefully increase my accuracy as well as my damage output. But, I mean, overall that first match went pretty well. Mostly because it was a really small match and not that many enemies climbed. I don't think I've ever seen a BF-109 base bombing either before, so that was kind of interesting. I was initially side climbing here, but there's this B-25 that's presenting a very easy target, so I'm going to go after him first. Shear off a wingtip, set an engine on fire or something. Or I guess it's a fuel tank, because he's not severed. Hopefully he goes down though. Either way, this is not a great map for me because all the fighters get an air spawn, plus it's a small map, so the enemies are going to get to me much quicker, and I'm not going to get an opportunity to find some distance for myself. So I'm not going to be able to go directly in and engage the enemies. So I spend a few minutes at altitude sort of skirting around the enemy. A lot of them do end up diving, but there's this J-26 and this Mosquito that look like they're going to go after me right now. I can probably take them individually, but having to deal with them together is going to be pretty tough, so I'm going to try and deal with the J-26 as quickly as I can. He's coming in very hot, so I'm going to try and force the overshoot here. Doesn't really take that much effort because I was going pretty slow. I was hoping he would fly into my guns, unfortunately he doesn't. He also decides to fly very straight. I'm guessing he thought he came in with enough energy advantage, but if you're going to commit to escaping, then you should have just done that to begin with. Mosquito is looping around. I don't know if he's actually coming for me still, but I'm going to turn around to re-engage him if necessary. Oh, okay, yeah, he's definitely coming for me, so I'm gonna need some speed. I want to try and do the same thing, force the overshoot. If he does manage to get guns on, then I might be dead here, though. Ooh, that is really close. Okay, I'm gonna get to be able to loop over him. Unfortunately, this Yak-3 is going to interrupt me and not going to let me finish. Unfortunate, I was doing pretty okay there. I leave that match early and jump into a new one. I've leveled off a little bit because it looks like this 110 wants to come in for head-on, and I want some speed when I go into it. This thing is not very good at dodging the head-ons, which is a little unfortunate, mostly because of how slow it is. So despite it having the guns for the head-ons, it does have that weakness of not being able to really take advantage of it without putting yourself in at least a little bit of risk. I'm going to resume a little bit of side climbing here, because I don't want to be engaging that Yak-3 nor anybody else over there at the same time. And by letting my friendlies go in first and skirting around the side, I've managed to get the attention of only this LA-7, which is ideal. If that guy knows what he's doing, then he'll definitely rinse me, but I have enough space here, so I'm comfortable at least trying a dogfight. This thing does have a very strong rudder, so it can rudder roll, but it does make the plane quite floppy, so you can't really control where your nose goes when you do it. Maybe it takes a bit of practice or something, but I'm not that interested in trying to get that down. Anyways, the LA-7 came in with a lot of speed, so he's overshot, he's not able to turn in. And here he makes the mistake of turning sideways. I don't know what he was thinking. Unfortunately, I miss all of my shots. I only get a hit, but he's changed directions, he's turning back in towards my front, so I'm gonna be able to get another shot on him. And that's even more misses. And just with that, I'm already down to half of my ammo. This is a problem whenever I use anything with Hispano Mark Vs. I tend to spray quite a lot and I miss a lot of my shots. So whenever I play the Tempests or the Hornets, I feel like I always run out. I think I'm just so used to being able to spray so much with the F4U4B because that thing just has so much ammo. But the LA7 manages to make enough mistakes to fly in front of my guns that many times, then yeah, he's gonna go down. If he had taken the fight vertical into loops, then I probably wouldn't have been able to follow, but he kept it horizontal, let me stay inside of his circle the whole time, and kept reversing his turn so that I could keep getting shots on him, so... he did not make it very difficult to fight him, despite him being in much superior of an airframe. I'm kind of wary of the enemies that are above me right now. I don't know if I want them to dive on me here. We have plenty of friendlies here, so I don't think I'm in too much of a risk even if they do go after me, but I'm thinking that if they are able to get dragged down a little bit more, then I might be able to help my teammates out and take a few of them out. And it looks like they're doing just that. They're getting a little bit lower, meaning I'm going to be able to turn back in and maybe get a shot on one or two of them. T61 is stalling themselves out. Not much to say here, we had a bunch of friendlies and they are getting overwhelmed, so not much they can do. I did lose track of that Key 44, I have no idea where he went. So I'm searching around, there he is, it looks like he's missing a wing. So I should be safe for now, except there are quite a few enemies down low here that seem like they might want to go after me. Especially that I-185, he looks like he's coming straight towards me. And I'm gonna take the head-on. Kind of risky since that thing has good guns. Okay, I do manage to dodge the first set of rounds, and if this goes into a scissors, then I should be able to kill him, because that thing also doesn't turn all that well. I hear an engine sound approaching, though. That does not sound friendly. Oh yeah, that's a 109G. He's coming in hot. I need to focus on dodging him specifically. Luckily, it looks like he came in a little too hot. He's compressing. Unfortunately, that's distracted me long enough to get in front of this I-185. But I'm close enough to the ground that he has to pull off. I maybe should have just extended here. I'm very low on energy, and this plane basically has no advantages once it's on the deck with low speed. I'm trying to figure out who to go for next. The Zero looks like the best target, but he's also extending away from me because of how slow I am. Maybe if I turn back for that I-185, I'll be able to get to him. That Zero does have somebody engaging him, so... yeah, it looks like I'll be able to get to the I-185 maybe here. Ooh, he's pitching in for head-on. And I take him out, but I also lose my engine, so this also means I'm gonna go down. My friendlies probably could have taken him out sooner or later, so from a strategic point of view, that was a very wasteful death here for me, but I'm out of ammo. I might as well just return to the hangar at this point. I got a Key 61 coming in. He's probably going to kill me. But somehow he manages to miss there. Maybe I can get a shot on him here with the last rounds I have. Nope, he dodges them. Rather unfortunate. He seems very invested in killing me specifically, though. I'm gonna count that as a maneuver kill. Why he would do that, I have no idea, but I'll take it, I guess. The results from the previous match seem to have come in, so I'm going to be able to unlock a few more modifications using just that. Okay, I guess it's just the engine injection. I didn't really get that much done that match. Very soon after, though, match 3 ends, so I'm able to finish unlocking all of the flight performance modifications. So now that this plane should be performing at its peak, let's take it for another spin and see how it does. Unfortunately, this game I was matched with America on my team, and quite a few of them have already dived down to the deck to carry out a very swift execution of an SP-25 that really needed 5 people to dive on him. If this Ju-87 is taking a head-on, it's probably the one with the 20mm gun pods, so I do need to be a little careful, but luckily none of his shots land, and so I'm able to survive that. There's a B-7A2 up, there are a bunch of VB-10s up. None of this is a good sign, because this plane needs altitude, but if I keep getting pushed down by planes that turn better than me, then there's really nothing I can do. Best hope is to just try and bait 1 or 2 of the enemies away from the center, go for maybe 1 dogfight, and then, I don't know, just try not to die afterwards. This VB-10 is very insistent on diving down on me, so I'm going to try and pitch underneath him. Okay, he has pulled off, that's good. That B7A2 looks like he's circling me like a vulture though. That is not a great sign. Plus there's a 0 over there. If he catches me, I'm toast because I don't know if I have the speed to actually escape him. So I continue running and most of the enemies have pulled off, but now there's a P47D on my 6. He's spraying from quite a distance and his shots are getting pretty close, so he probably knows what he's doing. I'm gonna try and force an overshoot here. Okay, he's gotten really close. But considering with how much speed he came in with, I'm guessing he dropped throttle there, and if he does that, then there's not much I can do. I'm too hesitant in this plane to drop throttle myself because once I do drop throttle, then I lower my speed and this thing really does not like going slow. Next match it is. This time it's another small match of Axis and allies, so that should generally be a good sign for me. Quickly take out this Ju-87. There's quite a few enemies coming towards me. I'm most concerned about that RE-2001 because that's a plane that I cannot dogfight if he gets close to me. So I'm gonna try and kill him here in the head-on. He's dodging to make it hard to hit him, but he's also not committed to the head-on himself, so I basically have ample time to figure out where he's going and then try and lead him. Spitfire and Yak are also dangerous targets, but the one that's chasing me right now is this Focke-Wulf, so I'll have to try and take him out. I don't really want to try force an overshoot on him, so I'm going to extend away and then turn back for a re-engage once I have enough distance. Hopefully I have enough speed and energy to outrun him for a little bit. I probably should have waited a bit longer since I don't really have that much distance on him right now, but it seemed like he was going to catch up to me pretty soon, so I wanted to take the fight when I could. I'm going to take this head on here, but I'm not quite able to get my nose on where I wanted to. And because I'm going so slow, it's really hard for this plane to maneuver, and it's also really easy for him to hit me. If I had been a bit more patient, or if I had just run a little bit farther, then I might have been able to get away with it. Either way, this plane actually is kind of flyable without an elevator at all, because in this situation it pitches up a lot, so you can just try and pitch your nose down a little bit by rolling around. But unfortunately, this guy was going to run me down, so I just decided to give the kill to the person who actually killed me. This next match I'm just sort of jumping straight in. B-25 is heading straight towards me, so I thought I might as well take some shots at him, but it's putting me in a bit of a risky position. I can hear somebody approaching me, I'm not sure what it is. Oh no, it's an F8F. That is something that I do not want to deal with right now, or ever. At least not in this plane. So I'm going to try and dive down as much as I can to hope that he goes for a teammate. Okay, he's pulled off. That's a relief. So once again, I do the sort of passive side climbing strategy where I don't really get close enough to the enemies that they want to come after me, and after some time, a lot of them just dive down to the deck. So I'm also diving down to the deck to see if I can catch any of these guys. Okay, well I guess I wasted all of my energy just for that. It is kind of crazy that this plane can be in the same matchmaker as the Wyvern and the F8. Anyways, there's this P51, I'm gonna see if I can shoot him from a distance. It's a D model, so I don't have to be too scared. It seems like he's not very interested in me at all. He's going after my friendly Wyvern, which I guess is a more dangerous target technically, but I mean, I also have 4 Hispanos. Oh, I'm just realizing that before I said that this thing has the most Hispano rounds out of props, I guess the Wyvern does instead. Doesn't it get like 1200 rounds? Why is that thing not at 5.7? That thing is basically equivalent to the Do 335B2. Isn't the MB5 at a higher BR and just objectively worse than that thing as well? At least the diagrams I've made would suggest so. Okay, well this is the first match where I actually got something done and didn't die in a really stupid way. So I guess that's gotta be worth something. After those matches, I should have enough RP to be fully spaded with all of the ordnance. Not that it matters much, but I'm gonna keep trying to go on until I actually get a good match. I'm at altitude again, I'm getting dived on by Mosquito, the same deal. Gonna try and force an overshoot. There isn't anybody around, so I should comfortably be able to try and dogfight him here by myself. He's pulling off. Actually, no, he is just rolling around to stay behind me, but I doubt he'll be able to follow me up into this turn. Full flaps. I mean, come on, these flaps do look really cool. If he does take it vertical, then I probably won't be able to follow it, so I'm hoping that he pitches back down. Okay, there we go. I just need to keep maintaining this, stay behind him. And once I'm firmly behind him, I should be able to pitch in for a shot. He's pulling up, I should have enough energy to stay with him here. And you can probably see why I run out of ammo so quickly in this plane. Well, at this point he's doing the correct thing and he's running away. I'm gonna see if I can shoot him out while he does. Ooh, I got the shot off from 1 kilometer. That's pretty nice. Unfortunately, I am down to 300 rounds of ammo, so even despite the 800 rounds, I am not trigger disciplined enough to make this plane function the way that I want it to. A lot of our team is dead, so there is some carry potential in this match, though this plane itself isn't that great at that, so we'll have to see how it goes. Yak-3 is fighting a 109. The 109 usually will not stand a chance, so hopefully I'll be able to get there in time and help him out. They're flying away from me and I'm going very slow, so it's going to take some time for me to catch up. There's also an SB-2C up high. He's looking to dive on us, I think, so this could be dangerous. I thought that engine sound was him, but it was just a B-25. Yak-3 goes vertical in the perfect time for me to snipe him. Just gotta try not to waste too much of my rounds. Okay, he's on fire. Checking on that SB-2C. He is diving down on us right now. He's lost his contrail, so he is descending. I just barely noticed this I-16. He is climbing up for me, so he should be going pretty slow. I do have to be worried about how tight it turns, though, so for now, since I do have some speed, I'm going to extend out a little bit. And maybe I can go for an energy trap here, just so long as he doesn't try to stall up with me. The SB-2C has committed to the 109, so I don't have to be too worried about him right now. The I-16 does not look like he's committing right now, so I'm going to try and drop down onto him. Okay, that is kill number 3. And I'm already out of ammo, so I'm just gonna RTB. And when I've taken off, the friendly MB-157 has killed all of the other enemies, and this last guy is just a ground pounder, so he shouldn't be too much of an issue. I guess technically this match wasn't too bad, but I didn't really get that many interesting fights. It was just that Mosquito at the start, and then everybody else was just not that interesting to kill, so I'm gonna just keep going and see if I can get something better. But I think you get the idea with this plane. While the last match goes on, I'm just gonna go through the review of this plane. Overall, this plane is not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's also not that great. It does have a fair few things going for it, but a lot of those downsides make it really difficult to actually utilize the upsides of this plane. Flight performance-wise, it's not the worst thing in the world. It has a pretty weak engine compared to its airframe, so it climbs pretty slowly, it goes pretty slowly, it is pretty terrible in the vertical. For a strike fighter, it does turn pretty tight, and especially so with the flaps down. It also doesn't compress too much, so it's okay for forcing overshoots at high speeds. The flaps are also really strong, so whenever you get into a turn fight, try to use them as much as possible, at least up to the takeoffs and combats. It also gets an air brake, which is pretty neat, but because this thing already has a pretty poor energy retention, you're probably only going to be using it if you're trying to dive really quickly, without ripping your wings off. Another thing to note is that this plane rolls very slowly, especially when you're going slow. You can try to remedy this with rudder rolling, but it makes the plane very floppy and hard to control, so only really good for defensive flying, and doesn't really offset your position very much either, so mostly just use it as a distraction tool. I'd say the main strength of this plane is the firepower. You get 800 Hispano Mk IV rounds spread across 4 guns, which is really good. In terms of props, I think it's only outdone by the Wyvern, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows is already overpowered, so it's not that great of a comparison to begin with. But for most other props, I don't think there are that many that actually get to 800. That being said, I did run out quite often playing this plane because a lot of times you're trying to chase after people, trying to shoot shots that aren't that great. Because the longer the fight goes on, the more likely it is for you to die because of your poor energy retention. So I did actually find myself running out pretty quickly, despite the high ammo capacity. This is definitely not a plane that has the airframe to wait specifically for the perfect shot, because you're almost always going to be starting on the defensive, and setting up for those shots is time-consuming and much too risky in this plane. Or maybe I'm just used to having so much ammo in the F4U4B that I just need to be more trigger disciplined. Either way, it's still a step up over all of the other British planes, so do try to leverage that to your advantage. In terms of playstyle, you want to climb at the start of the match. I would advise side climbing even though you get a strike aircraft's air spawn, because a lot of maps these days give fighters air spawns as well, so the only advantage with a strike aircraft air spawn is that you're just closer to the enemy from the start, meaning that you're just going to be a lot more isolated if you just rush straight in. So unless you're just going gung-ho straight into the enemy team and head-onning a bunch of people and then dying, side climbing and then dragging enemies out one by one for a dogfight is probably the best strat, since you can handle yourself to some extent in a 1v1. It's just that you're going to end up bleeding a lot of speed, and when you do, it's going to make you very vulnerable to third parties, so you want to avoid that at all costs. And obviously avoid dogfighting in really good dogfighting planes like Yak-3, Spitfires, Zeros. But you do stand a chance against most American and German planes, so you can get some interesting fights out of this thing. Maybe if you play your cards right, you could actually win against a Yak-3, but obviously that's only if they make a lot of mistakes, or if they majorly underestimate your plane. Also, one note about head-ons. As much as it feels like this plane is incentivizing you to take head-ons with having such a large ammo capacity and such good guns, I would be somewhat hesitant to full commit to a head-on because it is quite difficult for you to go evasive when you need to dodge the enemy's rounds in a head-on. You're slow, making it hard for you to turn out of the rounds, and your roll is also very poor, making it hard for you to dodge sideways. So there's a lot more risk when it comes to actually taking head-ons in this plane compared to something like a Mosquito that can go a lot faster and maneuver out of the way of the guns faster. Also, of the guns that did get buffed, after the HE belts were fixed, I feel like the Hispanos have had the least amount of change. You get a lot of hits. I'm guessing it has something to do with the SAP rounds not doing very much compared to the HEs, so whenever they hit, it doesn't really do much. Which is unfortunate because there's not a single belt that's majority HE. So I do feel like I need to put quite a few more rounds into the enemy before they actually die compared to something like NF.Mk II, M3, Shivaks, or MG151s. So is this a hidden gem? I would say not really. This thing is not that great in my opinion. I played quite a few more rounds in this thing just to see if I could actually get an ace in this plane, and well, this thing is too slow for you to actually do well in a situation where your team has an advantage. And it also doesn't have the carry potential for when you have America on your team and it collapses. So you're kind of dependent on your team doing just barely enough to not kill the enemies, set them up for you perfectly, and then you come in with a kill. Which is not something that happens very often. You can get maybe 1 or 2 good dogfights in a match, but each dogfight is going to burn you of a lot of altitude. And once you do run out of that altitude, you're not going to be able to do all that much other than spend the next 5 minutes climbing while your teammates actually get stuff done. Whether it's by killing your enemies or killing themselves. It of course isn't the worst thing in the world. If you sort of like the attacker that doesn't do all that well but has good guns sort of playstyle, like the 84, or I guess the closest thing would be the Firefly, then you probably won't have too bad of a time in this thing, but for most people, even at this BR range, there are so many better quad Hispano planes. Some examples of some incredibly strong planes with quad Hispanos are the Typhoon Mark 1B late, or the Night Fighter Mosquito. So if I were you, I'd just go play those. They're a lot more fun and you get a lot more done in each match. And you're not entirely dependent on your enemies underestimating you. But that'll be all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.
How to activate your red-eyed tree frog.